Hello, welcome to another episode of the Biblical Story Series. I'm Pastor Anthony, here, pastor at Crossroads, and with me as usual is Brendan, and we're going to be talking about the virgin birth. We're going to center on Isaiah 7:14, a prophecy which said that the virgin will be with child and shall be called Emmanuel. This prophecy was given incredibly 700 years before Jesus came to this earth. So having set the context or the stage, I'll turn this over to Brendan.
Yeah, I read your blog. It's a great one. I recommend everyone read it. And early on, you say that there are some skeptics who look at this prophecy in Isaiah and they say that this is not pointing to Christ. This is just talking about the child that King Ahaz is about to have. Now, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, certain people are skeptical because if indeed you had a prophecy of a virgin birth 700 years before it happened, that would be a miracle on the highest scale. And certain people don't believe that those kind of miracles can happen. However, their criticism is partially true. Most or many prophecies in the Old and New Testament have a near or a close fulfillment, and then they have a larger or a fuller fulfillment. And so that's the case with this prophecy in Isaiah that centers around a king named Ahaz. He was the king of Judah. His kingdom was under attack by two other kings. He was afraid. He was scared. God sent the prophet Isaiah to tell him, do not be afraid, stay calm, stay steady. Ahaz and the people of Judah just were having trouble doing that. So God says, I'm going to give you a sign, and a sign to show you that I'm with you. And the sign was that the virgin will be with child and will be called Emmanuel. So in chapter 8 of Isaiah, there was a child that was born. It was providential, it was of God, but it was not a virgin birth. And it was not something on the scale of what the idea of Emmanuel would be. And so Matthew in chapter 1, verse 23 of his gospel says that the fulfillment of Isaiah 7:14 came with the birth of Christ. That was a virgin birth, and that was where God came to be with us in an entirely new way.
Now let's focus on the virgin birth a little bit, because there's lots of questions that come with that. Why does the virgin birth take away any possibility of Jesus having inherited sin nature?
Well, since Adam and the procreation from Adam and Eve, everybody being born from them, our sin nature is inherited from our original parents. And the sin nature means is we sin because we're born sinful. We're not sinful because we sin. We're born sinful, and so therefore we sin. Jesus being born of a virgin, he did not inherit the sin nature or the sinfulness that came from Adam and Eve. He was miraculously conceived. And in that sense, the Holy Spirit was able to lead Mary to conceive in a way that was pure, without any taint or without any fallenness of sin. So in that sense of being in a virgin birth, Jesus did not inherit the fallenness or the sinful nature of humanity. And so because of that, he could fulfill the messianic promises. Had he been born with a sinful nature, he couldn't have fulfilled those.
So Mary did not have to be herself sinless in order for Jesus to not inherit sin nature then?
No, because by the fact that the Holy Spirit could work within, the conception process, he could completely use, shall we say, just her human nature with his divine nature so that Jesus could be completely divine and human. But if there had been, two humans involved in the process, it would have continued to perpetuate exactly.
So let's move on ahead a little bit. You mentioned in the blog that the Christmas story connects us to a whole new reality with God, or a whole new level of relationship with God. Now, what did you mean by that?
Well, if God would want to show how much he loves us and how much we are valuable to him, if he would want to communicate this in the way that would be as clear as possible, what way could he do that any more than becoming like us, to actually becoming human from conception all the way to birth, to adulthood and his death, and then eventually resurrection on the cross. And so in the sense that God became like us, it shows us the depth that he wants to be in relationship and friendship and in a meaningful intimacy and communion with those he's created. What way could God become closer or more deeply validate who we are as human beings other than in becoming like us? I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I agree. That's a beautiful thing. That's profound.
Yes.
And to kind of bring this in for a landing, how does God appearing to us in the flesh, what does that say about our eternal value, our eternal destinies?
Yeah, well, you live in a world today, and especially the last few years we've been in, I think there's a deeper sense of hopelessness, meaningless, and a lack of value, and people looking all around and thinking, why am I here and what does it matter? And if God could, kind of like an artist, does a great painting and then puts his name at the bottom of the painting to say, this is mine,
Mm-hmm.
God in his artistry of creation comes into the earth and he becomes like a human and he says, this earth, this universe, everything that I've created is mine. Mm-hmm. It's his signature. And because of that, he's communicating to us that our lives have value, our lives have purpose, there is meaning for us. And not only has he communicated it through the apostles and the prophets through the Bible, but he expressed it in his most meaningful communication, and that is the Word, Jesus Christ. Mm. And so because of that, we know that we have a purpose in life. We know that our sin, our destructive tendencies, all that we've done wrong is not fatal, nor is it final, because Jesus' death, his burial, and his resurrection has given us hope. It shows us that God is filled with love and grace, and that each of us have a purpose of continuing to expand this grace and this love and restoring creation, restoring people, restoring that which is broken back to God's purposes. That's why Jesus came, was to restore that which is broken. And so we can take our own brokenness and be restored, but even more so, we can be in process of restoring the brokenness of others through the grace we've received. And that is something that leads to significant gratitude and purpose this Christmas season.
Definitely. Well, Anthony, I really appreciated reading the blog. I, again, very much recommend you guys read it as well. And we'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for joining Anthony and I today on the Biblical Story video series. Please subscribe to the Crossroads CCO YouTube channel, like, and share this video. Until next time.